Athens Airport, 1976. Way before 9/11, airport security was very, very low, and people were able to smuggle any sorts of stuff on airplanes. 248 passengers were on board the dictator Idi Amin Dada. They would send their demands to the world. The third and fourth day of the hijacking, the terrorists demanded, with an ultimatum, that they needed the release of 40 prisoners from pro-Palestinians inside Israeli jails. If not, under the protection of Idi Amin Dada, the terrorists would start killing all the hostages, starting on July 1st. Eventually, all the non-Jewish and non-Israeli passengers were released, leaving only the Israeli and Jewish passengers to be held as hostages as a bargaining chip for the PLFP and the Red Army faction to get their demands met. As the crisis continued onward, the relatives of the hostages were getting furious at the government, telling them to give in to the demands of the terrorists, even with many that had blood on their hands. Under the leadership of Shimon Peres and Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, they tried to negotiate with the terrorists, while at the same time coming up with a plan to rescue the hostages. Under the leadership of Dan Shomron and General Yekutiel, and under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Yoni Netanyahu, they devised a rescue plan to go into Entebbe. Using several photos that they had received years before when Israel had diplomatic relations with Uganda, the plane of the Hercules 130s took off from Israel, landing in Uganda, flying under the radar of several enemy countries.
"4:15 in the morning, we heard the news that about that our son and her husband is going back home, flying to Israel."
What was your reaction at that time, sir?
Oh, it's very, very happiness, very happy. We are. I can't explain it now. You know that now, but everything passed out of that. All the week, what we were passing over. You know, that is. It's hard to explain. You know, you must understand the people who've been all the time, and how could I explain? Well, anyway, we are happy that we hear the news that our son and her husband is alive.
Did you believe that such a thing would happen?
No, I could never, in my imagination, I could never dream of anything like that. I mean, it was beyond any imagination, that kind of action.
Would you have been willing to have had the Arab hostages, the Arab citizens here in Israel, the terrorists in jail, exchanged for the lives of the passengers on board?
Well, that's a very hard question, but you know, everybody feels exactly and related to the people, you know, who are close to it. And in that case, it would be my husband's life. So, of course, I thought the government should give the hostages, should give the people, the guerrilla people who are in Israel back, and to get back my husband and all the people who were on the plane.
Have you been? How is your morale now after the event?
High, very high, and beautiful.
Mr. Peres, thank you.
For the first time that a state, its president, Field Marshal Idi Amin, and its army cooperated with the hijackers to blackmail another country by threatening the lives of innocent passengers.
I would say that the speed in which that operation took place found all the terrorists and the Ugandese forces in such a surprise that enabled the battle to be over so fast. And no doubt, most of them did not understand until the last moment what really happened. Two of them did open fire while being inside, and the exchange of fire was very short. Unfortunately, during that exchange of fire, at least two of our people did not obey to the order to lie down. I'm talking about the kidnapped, the hostages, and got up and were hit by the exchange of fire. At the same time, another force went around the building in order to see the other Ugandese who were supposed to be around, and very close there were staying the MiGs, MiG-17, MiG-21 of the Ugandese, and the Ugandese soldiers, some of them, were flying and running to that area. And our people went after them and started to fire on the MiGs by order, and the MiGs were blown. Some of them went on fire, some of them were blowing up.
All of a sudden, through the living room window, he sees me walking up the path, and he has this look of surprise which changed in a heartbeat. And he understood, and he understood.
He knew.
He knew, and I came in, and and I heard my mother scream, and it was actually worse than hearing about Yoni's death. It's often said that the worst thing you can do as a prime minister or as a commander in the army is to tell a family that they lost their son. But now I was telling my parents that they lost their son, my older brother. I have to say that this was clearly the most difficult moment in my life.
All I know, at the end of the mission, 3 hostages were killed, 10 hostages wounded, 5 wounded Israeli IDF soldiers, and the only casualty among the soldiers who was killed was Yoni Netanyahu, the current prime minister's brother. Yoni Netanyahu was buried with full military honors at Mount Herzl. He was only 30 years old, but he will continue to be an Israeli hero. Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. If you like more, please comment, like, and subscribe.